Mother said, her smirk slicing cleaner than any knife. It's just a reunion. Don't take it personally. She held the invitation in her perfectly manicured hand, waving it like a victory flag while sipping from her bone-white teacup. Reunion? That's what she called my brother's 400 guest engagement gala? The one splashed across Instagram with rented chandeliers, champagne towers, and a freaking live harpist flown in from Prague. But I didn't flinch. Not in front of her. Not again. I see, I said, nodding slowly, keeping my voice even. Well, I hope it's unforgettable. Oh, it will be, she chuckled, patting my shoulder like I was some lost little girl who'd wandered into grown-up matters. You've always been a bit out of place at these things anyway. And just like that, she walked out of the room, humming to herself as if she hadn't just detonated another landmine in what used to be our relationship. That night, I sat at the small kitchen table of my modest two-bedroom apartment, staring at my laptop screen. The cursor blinked. My fingers hovered above the keyboard. Then I started typing. The next morning, everything changed. The sunlight hit my face as I cracked open the door to grab the mail. I wasn't dressed for anything, just wearing an oversized hoodie, my hair in a messy bun. But what I saw on the other side made me freeze. Microphones, cameras, boom poles, satellite vans, and reporters, dozens of them, lined across the curb in front of my little house, shouting questions. Can you confirm it was you who exposed them? Why didn't you speak out earlier? Did your brother really say those things in the recording? Did your mother know? Are you seeking legal action? I blinked, confused, dazed, until my phone buzzed so violently in my hand it nearly dropped. Notifications exploded across the screen. Trending. Hashtag Ava uncovered the truth. I tapped one post. And there I was, captured in a blurry video from my social media, clipped beside screenshots of an anonymous expose I had written under a pseudonym, now tied back to me by digital sleuths. It was titled, The Golden Son and the Rotten Truth, What the World Doesn't Know About Him. It had gone viral. And my brother's picture? Right next to an audio clip, his voice unmistakable, laughing about the charity funds he borrowed from the Children's Cancer fundraiser for his proposal event. A private recording I hadn't planned on releasing. Not ever. Until that night. Until that smirk. 2 weeks earlier. I had watched him lie. To the donors. To his fiancée. To our entire family. I sat there at a family brunch and listened as he bragged about his new luxury villa, pretending he built it from his business genius. But I knew better. Because I was there the night he came stumbling into my apartment drunk out of his mind, confessing how he siphoned tens of thousands from the charity he helped run, using me as a therapist because no one else gets guilt like you do, Ava. Because I had always been the invisible one, the quiet one, the sweet, artsy disappointment. And I never told, not about the lies, not about the night he hit someone and paid them to stay silent, not about how my mother helped him. But after that smirk, something snapped, back to present. As the media frenzy grew louder outside my door, I stepped out barefoot. I didn't say a word, not until I saw her, my mother, dressed in designer heels, her face pale, lips trembling, not with rage but desperation. Like she had realized too late that the daughter she dismissed wasn't out of place. She was just waiting for her moment. And it had come. I took the microphone offered by a reporter and raised my eyes to the camera. My name is Ava Linton, I said clearly. And this is my story. Not his. Not theirs. Mine. The air shifted. Even the wind seemed to pause. I didn't blink. And I wasn't going to stop. The camera flashes didn't stop, not when I turned away, not when I shut the door. And not even when I sank to the floor in my hallway, my hands still shaking. I hadn't planned any of this. I'd only posted the article out of a sense of survival, not vengeance. But now? Now it had a life of its own. I checked my phone again. My inbox was flooded. Journalists, law firms, podcast producers, even celebrities who wanted to amplify my story. I didn't know what terrified me more, the attention or the fact that, for the first time in years, someone was listening to me. And not just anyone. Everyone. But my phone rang again, and when I saw the name on the screen, my throat dried instantly. Logan, brother. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I stood, walked into the kitchen, and opened the bottom cabinet. Behind old pans and stacked cereal boxes was a dusty red folder. I hadn't looked at it in almost a year. Inside were everything I'd ever documented, screenshots, texts, financial statements I'd once helped him organize. Because Logan wasn't tech-savvy, and I'd been the only one in the family who knew Excel well enough to clean up the books. That's how I found out. And that's why he never thought I'd say a word. 2 years earlier. Don't look so dramatic, he laughed, tossing his wine glass on the couch cushion like it was a coaster. It's not like the kids are dying. It's only temporary. I stared at him, frozen. You used the donations to buy a Rolex? I'll pay it back. I just needed to look the part for the pitch meeting. You know how the game works, Ava. Appearances matter. No one trusts a poor CEO. But those donations were. Technically in a general use pool, not earmarked. He cut me off, eyes sharp now. And if you're thinking of ratting me out, don't. You think Mom's gonna take your side over mine? He wasn't wrong. Back then, I stayed silent. I had always stayed silent. But that night, something had died in me, and something else started to grow. Present. My doorbell buzzed. I peeked out the blinds. Not a reporter this time. A girl. Maybe 11 or 12. She was holding a small paper bag and looked scared. I opened the door slowly. Hi, I said. Are you Ava? She asked, blinking up at me. Yeah. She reached into her bag and handed me a folded envelope, then turned and ran. Inside was a handwritten note. You don't know me, but my little brother was one of the kids in the foundation. When the money stopped, we got evicted. But your story gave my mom the courage to speak up. Thank you for doing what no one else would. Thank you for being brave. Mia C. I read it twice, then a third time. My knees gave out, and I sat on the floor, tears flooding down my cheeks. Because for the first time in my life, being invisible had finally meant something. I saved someone, not by screaming, but by telling the truth. Later that night, I finally picked up Logan's 5th call. Ava, he snapped. No hello, just fury. What the hell did you do? You've ruined everything. There was no apology, no shock, just rage. You were never going to be content until you dragged me down, were you? He seethed. You're jealous. You always were. I held the phone tight, trying to keep my breath even. Jealous of what, Logan? The fraud? The lies? Or the part where I cleaned up your mess and got kicked out of the family for it? You think this makes you a hero? His voice cracked. You think you're better than me now? No, I said softly. I think I finally remembered who I am. Silence. Then he hung up. 2 days later, the charity board issued a public statement. The media frenzy doubled. Investigations were announced. And still, the hardest moment hadn't arrived. It came in the form of a knock. Not press, not police, but her. My mother. She stood at my door, her Chanel coat buttoned all the way up, sunglasses hiding her eyes. Can we talk? She said. No smirk this time. No teacup. No victory lap. Just a mother who looked shaken. I opened the door. She stepped in like she was walking into a stranger's house. I raised you better than this, she began, her voice firm but brittle. Air our private matters to the world? You've humiliated this family. I didn't interrupt. Your brother is facing criminal charges. Your father had to cancel his retirement cruise. Our name is everywhere. I waited. Then I asked, why didn't I get an invitation, Mom? That stopped her. What? To the engagement party. Why didn't I get one? She hesitated, then blinked. Because you would have made it awkward. You're not exactly presentable at these events, Ava. There it was. The truth. The old truth. I looked her dead in the eyes. You mean I'm not controllable? That's what you meant. Her lips parted, then pressed shut. And in that moment, I felt something unexpected. Pity. Because the woman who had always held power over me, who could ruin my confidence with a glance, now looked like someone desperately clinging to a narrative that no longer worked. "I'm sorry it came to this," I said. "I really am. But I'm not sorry I told the truth." She turned, silent, and walked out. Not a goodbye. Not even a glance back. The next time my phone rang, I expected more press. But the voice on the other end wasn't a reporter. It was her. "Hi, Ava," came a soft voice. Nervous. Familiar. "This is Blair." Blair. Logan's fiancé. The one I'd never properly met. The one whose face was plastered all over bridal magazines and brand sponsorships, carefully curated to be America's sweetheart. I felt my jaw tense. "Why are you calling me?" I just... "Can we meet? Please." "Somewhere private." I didn't respond right away. Her voice wasn't the voice of someone defending Logan. It sounded different. Heavy. Like someone carrying a truth she never meant to own. So, I agreed. We met at a nondescript cafe on the east side, far from the reporters and eyes. She came in wearing a hoodie and sunglasses, as if she were the fugitive, not the fiancé of a man who'd scammed half the state. When she sat down, she didn't even try to fake a smile. "I need to tell you something," she said immediately. "Go on," I replied. Blair reached into her purse and pulled out a flash drive. "I know what he did. I have evidence. And it's worse than what you think." My heart stopped. She leaned in, voice barely above a whisper. "He didn't just steal the money. He moved it into multiple shadow accounts. Under your name." I blinked. "What?" "That's why your name was left off the guest list. Why your mother cut you off. They were building a trail. So that if the truth ever came out," she swallowed, "you would be the fall girl." My stomach churned. I opened the folder she gave me when I got home. Password protected. Labeled Truth Vault. Inside, spreadsheets, routing numbers, internal memos, all showing me as the project lead of fake shell companies. My digital signature was on the documents. My name. My emails. Even doctored invoices that linked me directly to Logan's crimes. He'd framed me. All this time. The anger didn't come immediately. It was a slow burn. Like standing too close to a fire and not realizing your skin is blistering until it's too late. That night, I barely slept. I stared at my ceiling, remembering every small favor Logan had asked me to do. Every file he asked me to update. Every signature I thought was a casual formality. It was never casual. I was his insurance policy. A soft, unthreatening sister. The artist. The nobody. Perfect scapegoat. I should have broken down. Cried. Screamed. But I didn't. Instead, I got up, opened my laptop, and began writing again. Only this time, I didn't write anonymously. The second exposé dropped at 8 a.m. He framed his own sister. The truth about Logan Linton. This time, I attached the files. All of them. The doctored signatures. The dates. The false transactions. And side-by-side screenshots proving how my signature had been lifted from earlier tax forms I'd filed years ago. It was clear. He'd planned it all. Down to the reunion. Down to the moment they'd announce his engagement, while quietly erasing me from the family tree, just in time to let the axe fall squarely on me. By noon, the story had reached national headlines. And the fallout? Immediate. A federal investigation was launched. Donors withdrew their support. Sponsors dropped him overnight. And the most unexpected twist? Blair. She went public. Tearfully. In a national interview. She exposed not only Logan's fraud, but something I hadn't known. He'd threatened her. Threatened to expose secrets about her family. Her immigration status. Anything that would keep her silent. She said it all. And when she finished, she ended with one sentence I'll never forget. "I wish I had met Ava first. Because she didn't just survive her family, she held them accountable. She's the bravest person I know." I should have felt vindicated. I should have smiled. But the truth is, I felt hollow. Because justice doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it just leaves silence. And in that silence, You sit with the memories of what should have been. The brother I thought I had. The mother I wanted. The family I lost. But what I gained? Myself. And that was something no one could forge. The doorbell rang again. I half expected the FBI. Instead, it was a woman, middle-aged, eyes kind, holding a stack of books. "Are you Ava?" she asked. "Yes. I run a local girls' shelter," she said, smiling gently. "We help teen girls coming out of abusive homes. And we've been reading your story every day. These girls? They think you're a superhero." She handed me the books. Each one had a note. Handwritten. Crayons. Glitter. Little hearts. I want to be like Ava one day. She told the truth even when it hurt. "Thank you for being brave for all of us." My throat tightened. My vision blurred. I held the books close to my chest. And for the first time since it all began, I smiled. Not for the cameras. Not for the crowd. But for me. The courtroom was ice cold. Or maybe it was just my skin. I sat 2 rows behind the prosecution table alone. No family, no friends. Just me. Logan sat ahead, flanked by 2 lawyers, expensive ones. He didn't look like the golden boy anymore. His hair was disheveled. His suit rumpled. He looked smaller, faded, like the shine had been scrubbed off, leaving only rust beneath. The charges were stacked like bricks. Wire fraud, charity fraud, tax evasion, conspiracy, identity theft. Each word felt like a stone. But it wasn't until they read my name into evidence that my stomach twisted. Ava Linton, the defendant's sister, was originally positioned to be the fall party in the fraudulent activity. The jury turned toward me as the prosecution made their case. And all I could think was, this is what being heard feels like. Outside the courthouse, the crowd was thick. Protesters, reporters, advocates, some holding signs that read, "Believe her. Stand with Ava." I never thought I'd become a symbol. But I didn't want fame. I wanted freedom. The night before sentencing, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered without thinking. "Hello." "Ava." It was him. Logan. Jailed, stripped of bail, awaiting sentencing. His voice was raspy. "Hello. Why did you do it?" I asked. No fury. Just a question. A real one. There was a long pause. Then he whispered, "Because I didn't think you'd fight back." That was it. That was the whole truth. He never saw me as weak. He saw me as silent. And that was worse. The next morning, the judge's voice rang through the chamber. "Mr. Linton, you are hereby sentenced to 16 years in federal prison." Gasps. Camera clicks. Hands over mouths. But I didn't flinch. Because in that moment, it wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about release. Afterward, the family group chat, one I hadn't seen in years, lit up. Not with apologies. With silence. Except one. Grandma Linton. She sent me a message that simply read, "I knew you were the strong one. I'm proud of you, sweetheart. Keep shining. Sunflower." I cried when I read it. Because sometimes, one voice of kindness is louder than 100 voices of shame. 2 months later. Life didn't magically get better. I still lived in my modest apartment. Still walked past headlines of my own name. But something had changed. Me. I began volunteering twice a week at the same shelter that reached out to me. I taught art therapy to girls who'd been silenced their whole lives. Girls who reminded me of myself. One day, I walked in and found a mural painted on the wall. A dozen girls had worked on it. It was a phoenix, rising from fire. Underneath it, in messy handwriting, it read, "She didn't burn. She rose." One afternoon, as I packed up my art supplies, a familiar car pulled into the driveway. It was Blair. She stepped out, no makeup, hair tied back, holding a single envelope. "Hey," she said, breathless. "This came in the mail for me, but it was meant for you." I opened it carefully. Inside was a check. $250,000. From a law firm. Apparently, a class action lawsuit against Logan's charity had won a settlement. Because I had helped expose it, I was given a whistleblower's share. I stared at the paper in disbelief. Blair grinned. What are you going to do? I looked out at the girls in the shelter yard. Something good, I whispered. Something real. 6 months later, my house was no longer just a house. It had become something more. A space where broken girls gathered every weekend to learn how to paint their pain into beauty. Where laughter spilled from the porch. Where healing didn't require perfection, just patience. I named it the Firebird Project, a center for art, therapy, and storytelling for girls from fractured homes. Girls who had been silenced, belittled, overlooked, just like I once was. One day, a girl named Serenity walked in. 14. Skittish. Wouldn't make eye contact. She didn't speak much the first week. But I saw the way her hand gripped the pencil when she drew, like she was holding on to something invisible. Then, on the third Saturday, she quietly handed me a sketch. It was of a girl, standing tall, alone, but unbroken. And underneath it, she'd written, "She looks like you." That night, I sat on my porch, watching the sun bleed orange across the sky. It was the same porch where I once sat crying into my sleeve, wondering if anyone would ever see me. Now, it felt like every soul I'd helped had stitched a part of themselves into this place. And me? I wasn't invisible anymore. I was a lighthouse. The news cycle eventually moved on. Logan faded from the headlines. New scandals replaced him. New headlines screamed louder. But I stayed steady. I didn't chase relevance. I built legacy. One afternoon, as I returned from a class, I noticed something odd. Reporters outside my gate again. A woman approached me, holding a mic, but this time her tone wasn't invasive. "Miss Linton, sorry to show up like this," she said. "We just wanted to know, have you seen the trending post today?" I frowned. "No." "What is it?" She handed me her phone. The screen showed a video. Logan. From prison. Leaning into the camera during a visitation interview. He looked older, harsher, and yet, somehow, more human. "I don't expect forgiveness," he said quietly. "But if I could go back, I wouldn't just change what I did. I'd tell my sister how strong she really was. And that I see it now. All of it. I see her." The comment section was a storm of opinions. But I only read one. Ava didn't just expose the lie. She became the truth. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just stood there quietly, feeling something new settle into my chest. Peace. Not because he changed, but because I had. One final letter arrived a month later. From my mother. No return address. No apology. Just 5 short words on a plain, white card. "You were right. I'm sorry." No signature. Just those words. I placed it inside a small box labeled past. I didn't burn it. I didn't frame it. I just let it exist. Because not every wound needs to be reopened. Some just need to be acknowledged. 1 year later, the Firebird Project went national. We opened branches in 5 states. Donations poured in from survivors, celebrities, and schools. I spoke at conferences, told my story, not for pity, but for power. And everywhere I went, I saw her. The quiet girl in the back of the room. The one who thought she didn't belong. The one who thought she had to earn love to deserve space. The one who thought silence was survival. I saw me. And I told her. They were wrong about you. All of them. You're not too soft. You're not too weird.